The wave of defection in Nigerian politics has become a recurring phenomenon, with elected officials frequently switching party allegiances, particularly from opposition party to the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, particularly also in recent times. Well, joining me to discuss this right now is Bedford Berefa, is the spokesperson for the Ijaw Youth Council worldwide. He joins virtually from Bayelsa State. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Grateful for having me today.
All right, great. Bedford, let me start by asking you what you think of this gale of defection that we're seeing, across party lines to the ruling party.
Well, it's usual of the Nigerian political system, which is a very backward and archaic mode of political practice. It is very, very disheartening to see that there is that level of politics in Nigeria is no longer an issue of ideology. It's not a projection of an ideology. It's a projection of what to give me soft landing. That is what politics has been defined in Nigeria, which is very, very backward. We are still in the Stone Age, as it were, where politics is the carrots and the stick structure that they are experimenting, which is very, very laughable and does not give any form of patriotism to the political community across the globe. If you see the US, it's between two party lines. It's either you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. That is the kind of politics in modern day that people practice. It's the politics of ideology. You see that people now jump ship from one political party to another political party for soft landing. Either, okay, if you join my party, FCC will not pursue you again. If you join my party, your second tenure is secure. That's the kind of mentality we have in this country. It worries us as youths that we don't have a future, that a political future, as it were. Where, for instance, now I have two sons. I can decide that, okay, today my sons are no longer my sons because I have jumped ship to another mother. That is the kind of politics that we are practicing. If we continue in this stead in Nigerian politics, I bet you in no distant time there will be no Nigeria again. It's no longer politics of ideology, rather it's a politics for the pocket, politics for what suits me. It's not, when Goodluck Jonathan was there, this same person that is at the end of affair in the Nigerian setting, he came and said, no, Goodluck was a bad man, and he convinced certain persons at certain quarters, and they defected, to form the APC party,
But don't you also think that we have a case? I'm sorry for interrupting you, Bedford, but for some political observers who, of course, are keen with the happenings, don't you also think there's also a case of maybe the ruling party, in a way, trying to gain more traction, and the fears that maybe Nigeria might be dovetailing into a one-party state?
That's what we are scared of, because I don't see any special thing that this political personnel at the center has brought to the table. I've not seen any tangible policies that affected livelihood in the Niger Delta, and particularly in Nigeria. I've not seen any form of practicability in the political policies, that have been done in Nigeria, as it were. So we wonder why people will now defect, from this kind of from PDP to an APC that is dysfunctional, to an APC that the people are living in hunger, the APC that does not put in consideration the populace. I wonder the kind of politics that we fear.
But let's also consider some of the reasons why some politicians are defecting.
Because we are falling into a one-party system.
Some of the reasons why some politicians are defecting. Let's also consider some of it. For instance, we saw what happened recently in Delta State, where the governor did defect, and from the People's Democratic Party to the APC. And one of the reasons cited is the internal leadership crisis or rancor within some of these opposition parties, like the PDP, for instance. It's got its own. There's also that of the APC and the NNPP. So is it good to say that, is that enough reason to say, since these parties are not able to get their house in order, it's better I jump ship to where it's a bit stable and sustainable? Do you think the opposition parties are doing enough to ensure that they have their house in order to form a formidable opposition?
My brother, you agree with me that there's no political family that does not have an issue. Political family is like the nuclear family where father and mother and father and son will have issues. Well, of course, there's no issue that is not resolvable. Even in the US, the Democrats, they have issues. Even the Republicans, they have internal issues. The best way to resolve those issues is the Constitution. That's why every system has a Constitution that will be a ground norm upon which the practice the characteristics of whatever belief that they have. I believe the reason why that is not enough reason to jump ship from one particular, that my house is in crisis. That is enough reason for me to go move to another political party. It just tells you the level of myopicness, is the level of lack of ideology of a political system. It just tells you the frivolity that the level Nigeria is going. There is no rule and order. A country where the judiciary is even afraid to speak truth to power. A system where the legislature is afraid that if I speak anyhow, they will come for me. And I tell you, Nigeria is a mess as I am talking to you. The PDP state, which is the Delta state, coming to the APC, is a shock absorber. But I can tell you for free, the reasons given were not solid enough to now say, let me jump ship. You saw all of these things before taking the flag to say, I want to represent the system. Hey, I tell you, if you no longer believe in the system that brought you to power, then relinquish your seat and go and play the politics. All right. And the party that tells you, okay, come, we accommodate you, whatever you are coming from, we accommodate. Then that's the best way to go. Rather than just being in power and jump ship to another political party. What is the ideology? If I tell you now, what is the political ideology? What has the APC brought to bear? I can tell you, there is nothing to pinpoint that this is what the APC government has done in the last 2 years. And so it's laughable, and it tells a great deal. It's a clarion call for Nigerian youth to sit up and speak truth to power, to sit up and take power by every means necessary. It is because the way Nigeria is going.
Sorry, Bedford, I need to interrupt you. You said it's more or less a clarion call for young people to take power by whatever way. But I would like to believe that you are referring to the elections, because that, of course, is the due process. But I want us to switch this conversation slightly to recent developments that we're hearing as regards Rivers State. I know you've been pretty much vocal, even on this program, on your stance on the developments in Rivers State, from the state of the emergency to the suspension of the governor. But speculatively, what we are understanding right now is that the suspended governor, Sim Fubara, had a meeting with some governors, in attendance, with the FCT minister, a reconciliation meeting at his residence. I mean, this, of course, is speculative. I would like your take on it. And also on the heels of the governor also meeting Mr. President in London, as a youth leader in that region, what do you make of these recent meetings and developments?
Well, those were the recommendations. The reconciliation meetings were the recommendation made by the National Assembly. Of course, we know that is level of impunity that the Nigerian system has brought to us, has given to us. That is the plate, that is the dish that is given to us to taste. But the disposition of the Mr. Governor of Rivers State, which is a peaceful disposition, is a man of peace, and we all want peace. We want all development.
Do you think Governor Fubara? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think Governor Fubara has been placed in some sort of chokehold?
That is what it means. He's been untwisted to beg. That is what it is. Because from the beginning we have cried that the suspension is illegal. Illegality begat illegality. So the best we are saying that the judiciary is to the hope of the common man is no longer hope. There's no hope in the judiciary anymore. So he has to do everything necessary to get back to his position as governor of Rivers State. It can tell you the level at which the country is going. That if illegitimately a man is removed and is forced to go and beg, for but because of the interest of the people in Rivers State. I believe, and I can tell you for free that the government, anything is doing it for the interest of Rivers people, and not necessarily because that is the legal provision. It is laughable that indeed a governor will go and beg, in the country where the people gave him mandate. It doesn't matter the contribution of Mr. Yesowike in contributing to the fact that the man became governor. Your contribution, he too was helped. There is no man on earth that is not helped by a fellow man. We are all helped to attain certain level. But because you are helped does not mean that you must dictate the tone at which governance should run in Rivers State. But I tell you of a truth, the man is doing his best to see that peace reign. But I want to assure you,
Bedford,
that
are you worried?
Hello?
Are you worried that he might defect? I'm talking of Governor Simfubara.
My brother, that is where the boat is tilting towards. We will not be surprised if it defects. We will not be surprised because, like I told you, the opposition has no bearing. The PDP, there's no bearing in the PDP. So anything goes. The man has to do everything needful to get back to power. And if it is to defect to APC that will regain his legitimate right to him, he will do it. And everyone will not fall they will say, I will do it and everyone will not fall. And that is what it is. The man will go to APC to get his power. And the people of Rivers State will give him the necessary support. He has the love of the people. Anything he tells the people will follow suit. And that is what it is. But it is lugubrious. It is quite laughable. It is disheartening to see that democracy has degenerated to this point where one party system will now be the order of the day. There's no competition whatsoever.
Bedford, just as a follow-up question to that too, for many political observers that have been following the story and the events in Rivers State, some would say, some might perceive Governor Fubara as a weak governor, saying that maybe certain political figures might have been placed in this position and handled it differently. Do you think that Governor Simfubara, even though you say he's a man of peace, he loves the people and all of that, do you think that Governor Simfubara is a weak man, a weak politician?
No, he's not a weak man. He's a man that loves humanity. Is the Goodluck Jonathan of this era. Is the Goodluck Jonathan of this era. Because of course, if he lived to certain person, by now Rivers State will be boiling. But this man has said he's not interested in anyone shedding blood for an office. He is using diplomacy to handle situations. Does not make him weak. And you think a man that can look to his godfather at the face and say, this
I'm just asking, sorry, and you think the excuse for peace, the reason for peace is not an excuse for weakness?
My brother, it is not an excuse for weakness. A man that is right was legitimately taken off him. His right was legitimately out of the blues. He did not know that something like that is coming. A state that has been peaceful, suddenly the center said there is chaos and there is need for state of emergency. A state of emergency has been declared. His wings have been clipped. He's no longer the end of affair. What do you want him to do? Should he call for war? Should we start killing ourselves? The Ijaw youth, we call a conference of Ijaw people and said, no, that is what the people want us to do. They want chaos in Rivers State. We are not going to give them chaos. We are not going to give them chaos. His wings were clipped. The man he was powerless. He was rendered powerless. So what do you expect him to do? Should he go and carry gun and start shooting? No, that is not what he will do. Will he encourage violence? He will not encourage violence. We looked at it and said so strictly and said, no, we wouldn't want Rivers State to boil. If Nigerians will sit at their comfort, if Nigerians will see that this is correct and nobody is raising an eyebrow, there's no revolution, I tell you, there's nothing that can happen. But of course, we are saying, the man look at all of this and say, no, let me do it the way I have to do it. If it's to go jump ship, after all, there is no longer news in Nigerian politics that people go from one party to as political prostitutes, go from one party to another, everybody go to the ruling party to seek succor and comfort to get back his mandate. And that is what the man has explored. Upon is meeting with Mr. President. You see that the reconciliation meeting has been setting. If he did not go and meet Mr. President, there will not be reconciliation. Yeah, of course, but you know, that is the best position he has taken. It is not a mark of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. A man that has against injustice, and now his hand is tied. Is either you go for violence or you go for peace, diplomatic means. He has chosen diplomatic means. That is not a sign of weakness, my brother. That is strength. That is strength in his magnitude.
All right. Thank you so much for
strength in his magnitude.
All right, Bedford, Berefa, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on the program today.
Thank you very much.
All right. At this point, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be switching gears to talk about insecurity in some parts of the country and the approach by a Christian group on this matter. Stay with us.